I never imagined that answering a simple job advertisement would change my life forever. But there I was, standing in front of the towering glass building of Han Enterprises, clutching my worn resume and praying my second-hand suit looked presentable enough. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and 6 months ago, I became the live-in nanny for the Han family. Mr. Han Junwoo was a widower, a brilliant CEO who'd built his company from nothing. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier, leaving him alone with their 2 children, Ji-hoon, age 7, and little Soo-min, just 4 years old. The interview had been intense. Mr. Han sat across from me in his pristine home office, his dark eyes assessing me with the same scrutiny he probably used on million-dollar business deals. His black hair was perfectly styled, his suit impeccable, but there was something in those eyes, a deep, unhealed wound that no amount of success could bandage. "My children need stability," he'd said, his English flawless despite the slight accent. "They need someone who will truly care for them, not just watch them. Can you be that person, Miss Mitchell?" I'd looked him straight in the eye. "Mr. Han, I lost my own mother when I was young. I know what it's like to grow up with that emptiness. I can't replace their mother, but I promise I'll give your children every ounce of love and care I have." Something shifted in his expression then. "You're hired." The first few weeks were challenging. Ji-hoon was withdrawn, spending hours in his room, refusing to talk about his feelings. Little Soo-min would wake up crying for her mother almost every night. Mr. Han worked impossibly long hours, leaving before dawn and returning after the children were asleep. But slowly, things began to change. I started reading bedtime stories every night, creating silly voices for the characters that made Soo-min giggle. I helped Ji-hoon with his homework, patiently explaining math problems and encouraging his love for drawing. I cooked their favorite Korean dishes, calling Mr. Han's mother for recipes, determined to give them a taste of home and tradition. Mr. Han noticed. He started coming home earlier, joining us for dinner when he could. I'd see him standing in doorways, watching me play with the children, a soft expression on his usually stern face. "You're good with them," he said one evening, after I'd tucked the children into bed. We stood in the hallway, the gentle glow of night lights illuminating the space between us. "They're wonderful children," I replied. "They just needed someone to see them." "I see them," he said quietly, pain flickering across his features. "But sometimes I see too much of her in them. It hurts." My heart broke for him. "Remembering her doesn't have to hurt, Mr. Han. The children need to know about their mother, her laughter, her dreams, her love. Those memories are precious." He looked at me for a long moment. "Please call me Junwoo. And Sarah, thank you for everything you're doing for my family." As months passed, our household found its rhythm. Junwoo began opening up, sharing stories about his wife during family dinners. The children blossomed, their laughter filling the house that had been silent for too long. I found myself looking forward to Junwoo's return each evening. We'd sit together after the children slept, talking about everything and nothing. His business challenges, my dreams of someday opening a small bookstore, our shared love of old movies. "You've brought light back into this house," he told me one night, his voice soft. "Into our lives." I felt my cheeks warm. "I'm just doing my job." "No," he said, reaching across the table to gently touch my hand. "You're doing so much more than that. You've become important to us. To me." Before I could respond, Ji-hoon called out from upstairs. The moment passed, but something had shifted between us, something tender and frightening and wonderful all at once. I tried to maintain professional boundaries, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. Junwoo was brilliant, yes, but he was also kind, devoted to his children, and underneath that CEO exterior was a man still learning to heal, still learning to hope again. And I was falling for him, even though I knew I shouldn't. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the playroom with the children when I heard the crash, a terrible, echoing sound that seemed to shake the entire house. Then Soo-min's terrified scream, "Daddy!" I ran into the hallway to find Junwoo crumpled at the bottom of the grand staircase, his body motionless, blood pooling beneath his head. His phone lay shattered beside him. He must have been reading something while descending the stairs, lost his footing. "Call 911!" I shouted to Mrs. Park, the housekeeper, while gathering the hysterical children. "Ji-hoon, Take your sister to your room. Now. But Daddy, Ji-hoon's voice broke. I'll take care of Daddy, I promise. Please, be brave for Sumin. The ambulance arrived within minutes, but it felt like hours. I rode with Jun-woo to the hospital, holding his limp hand, praying desperately. The children stayed with Mrs. Park, and I promised to call as soon as I knew anything. In the emergency room, doctors rushed around him. I stood frozen, covered in his blood, watching them work to save his life. A doctor approached me hours later, her expression grave. Are you family? I'm his children's nanny, their only parent. My voice cracked. She sighed. He has severe head trauma. We've stabilized him, but he's in a coma. The next 72 hours are critical. I'm sorry, but you should prepare yourself. The chances of him waking up, they're not good. I returned to the house in the early morning hours, exhausted and devastated. Mrs. Park had kept the children calm, but they rushed to me the moment I walked through the door. Where's Daddy? Sumin asked, her little face tear-stained. I knelt down, pulling them both into my arms. Daddy had a bad fall, sweethearts. He's sleeping in the hospital, and the doctors are taking very good care of him. When will he wake up? Ji-hoon's voice was small, frightened. I thought of the doctor's words, the grim prognosis. But I looked into their hopeful faces and couldn't bear to crush that hope. I don't know, but we're going to be brave, okay? We're going to be strong for Daddy. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I visited Jun-woo every morning before the children woke, sitting beside his hospital bed, talking to him even though he couldn't hear me. The children need you, I whispered, holding his hand. I need you. Please, Jun-woo, please fight. Come back to us. But he remained still, silent, connected to machines that breathed for him and monitored his fading signs of life. The doctors grew more pessimistic with each passing day. There's minimal brain activity, one told me. You should consider making arrangements. No, I said firmly. He's still in there. He's still fighting. But doubt crept into my heart during the long, dark nights. At home, I tried to maintain normalcy for the children. We kept to our routines. Breakfast at 7, school, homework, playtime. But the house felt empty without Jun-woo's presence. The children asked about him constantly. One evening, as I tucked Ji-hoon into bed, he looked up at me with eyes too old for his 7 years. Daddy's not going to wake up, is he? Just like Mommy didn't come back. My heart shattered. Ji-hoon. It's okay, he said, his voice breaking. I know what happens. People leave. They don't come back. I pulled him close, tears streaming down my face. Listen to me. Your father is the strongest man I know. He built an entire company because he never gives up. He won't give up now. And neither will we. That night, unable to sleep, I had an idea. It was perhaps foolish, perhaps desperate, but I had to try something. The next morning, I brought the children to the hospital. The nurses protested, citing regulations, but I was firm. These are his children. He needs to hear their voices. Please. They relented, giving us 30 minutes. Ji-hoon and Sumin climbed carefully onto the hospital bed, one on each side of their father. Sumin patted his hand gently. Daddy, it's me, she whispered. I miss you. Ji-hoon, always trying to be strong, finally broke down. Please wake up, Daddy. Please. We need you. I watched, tears flowing freely as these brave children poured their hearts out to their unconscious father. And I made a decision. We're going to come every day, I told the children as we left the hospital. And we're going to tell Daddy everything about our day. Every single thing. Because even though he's sleeping, part of him can hear us. I believe that. And so we did. Every afternoon after school, we visited. The children would climb onto his bed and tell him about their day, what they learned, who they played with, what they had for lunch. I would read to him the children's favorite stories, books he'd mentioned loving, articles about his company's successes. I brought his favorite music and played it softly. I'd arrange fresh flowers, knowing he loved the garden his wife had planted. But I did something else, too. Something I kept as my secret. Late at night, after the children were asleep, I would return to the hospital. I'd sit beside Jun-woo and talk to him about his wife. I'd found her diary in his study. He'd kept it in a locked drawer, but Mrs. Park knew where he kept the key. Inside were beautiful entries about her love for Junwoo, her dreams for their children, her hopes and fears. "Your wife wrote about the day Ji-hoon was born," I'd read softly. She said. I held him and saw eternity in his eyes. "I saw you in his smile. I've never known such perfect love." I'd read entry after entry, sharing her words, her love, her spirit with him. She also wrote about being afraid. I continued one night, my voice thick with emotion. She was afraid of leaving you all too soon. But she wrote, "If I go, I pray someone will love them as I do. Someone will help Junwoo remember how to smile. Someone will be there when I cannot." My voice broke. "I'm trying to be that someone, Junwoo. I'm trying so hard. But the children need you. I stopped, unable to finish. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. The doctors wanted to discuss removing life support. I refused to sign anything, though I had no legal right to make such decisions. Junwoo's mother arrived from Korea, an elegant woman with her son's eyes. She listened to the doctors, then turned to me. "The children, how are they?" "Brave," I said. "Hopeful. They visit every day." She studied me. "My son told me about you. He said you were bringing his family back to life." She paused. "Tell me the truth. What do you think I should do?" I met her gaze. "I think Junwoo has fought through impossibly hard things before. I think he deserves every chance to fight through this. And I think those children upstairs, telling him about their day, believing he can hear them, they deserve to keep hoping." She nodded slowly. "Then we wait. We hope. We pray." I continued my nightly visits, reading from his wife's diary. I learned about their first date, their wedding day, the joy and terror of becoming parents. I felt like I knew her, this woman who'd loved him so deeply. "She sounds amazing," I told him one night. "The children are so much like her, you know. Ji-hoon has her determination. Sumin has her gentleness. And you carry her love forward every day, even when it hurts." I held his hand, this man I'd come to love, and wondered if I was foolish to hope. Then, on the 4th week, something changed. I was reading from the diary again, sharing a particularly beautiful passage about the day they'd planted the garden together, when I felt it, the smallest pressure on my hand. My breath caught. "Junwoo." Another squeeze, slightly stronger. I pressed the call button frantically, and nurses rushed in. Within minutes, doctors were examining him, running tests. His brain activity had increased significantly. He was emerging from the coma. I called Mrs. Han immediately, then Mrs. Park to bring the children. But I stayed in that room, holding Junwoo's hand as he slowly, gradually began to wake. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, confused. He looked around the sterile hospital room, at the machines, at his own bandaged body. Then his gaze found me. "Sarah!" His voice was barely a whisper, rough from weeks of intubation. "I'm here," I said, tears streaming down my face. "You're going to be okay. The children are on their way." He tried to sit up, and I gently helped him, adjusting the bed. "How long?" 4 weeks. You fell down the stairs. They said," my voice broke. "They said you wouldn't wake up." He was silent for a moment, processing. "Then, I heard you." "What?" "In the darkness. I heard voices. The children. My mother. And you." He looked at me intensely. "Every night. You were there every night. Reading to me. Telling me about me young." He knew his wife's diary. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. "I heard you reading her words," he continued, his own eyes glistening. "And I heard what you said, what you didn't finish. About needing me." Before I could respond, the door burst open. Ji-hoon and Sumin ran in, Mrs. Park and Mrs. Han following closely behind. "Daddy!" They climbed carefully onto the bed, and Junwoo wrapped his arms around them, tears flowing freely now. "My babies!" he whispered, kissing their heads. "I'm so sorry. I'm here now. I'm here." They clung to him, all 3 of them crying, reunited. Mrs. Han stood beside me, her own tears falling. After several minutes, Junwoo looked up at me over his children's heads. "Sarah, please don't go." I started to step back, to give the family privacy, but he reached out his hand to me. "No, I mean don't go. Don't leave us. These past weeks, the children told me everything when they visited. About how you've been taking care of them, loving them. About how you bring them here every day with hope when the doctors had none. His voice cracked. You've been holding my family together. You've been. Sarah's family, Jihoon declared suddenly. She loves us like Mommy did, Sumin added, her small voice certain. Mrs. Han smiled through her tears. My son has been given a second chance at life. Don't waste it, Junwoo. Junwoo looked at me, vulnerable and open in a way I'd never seen. When I was in that darkness, your voice was my anchor. Your love for my children, your dedication, your faith, it pulled me back. And somewhere in that darkness, I realized something I should have acknowledged long ago. He paused. I love you, Sarah, not as my children's nanny, as the woman who brought light back into our lives, as the person I want beside me always. My heart soared and broke and mended all at once. Junwoo, she loves you too, Daddy, Jihoon interrupted, grinning. She talks about you all the time. Everyone laughed through their tears, and I blushed furiously. I do, I admitted softly. I love all of you. This family, you've become my home. Junwoo pulled me closer, and I joined them on the bed, surrounded by this beautiful, broken, healing family. Mommy would be happy, Sumin said quietly. She wanted Daddy to be happy again. She told me in a dream. Junwoo's tears flowed harder then, and I understood. This wasn't about replacing his wife or forgetting her. This was about honoring her legacy by continuing to live, to love, to build a future she would have wanted for her family. She would be happy, Mrs. Han agreed, placing her hand on her son's shoulder. Mi-young would want her children raised with love, her husband to find joy again. This is not betrayal, my son. This is grace. The doctors had said Junwoo wouldn't wake up, but they didn't account for the power of love, hope, and family. They didn't know about a nanny who refused to give up, who read bedtime stories to an unconscious man and brought his children to speak to him every day. They didn't know about two brave children who believed their father would come back to them. And they certainly didn't know about a man whose love for his family was strong enough to pull him back from the brink of death. 6 months later, Junwoo had made a full recovery. We were married in a small ceremony in the garden his wife had planted, honoring her memory while celebrating our new beginning. Jihoon and Sumin were my children now, in every way that mattered. And when I tucked them into bed at night, I'd sometimes see Mi-young's photo on their nightstand and silently thank her for the gift of her family. The fall down those stairs had nearly taken everything. But what rose from that tragedy was something beautiful, a family rebuilt on love, resilience, and the unshakable belief that hope, no matter how small, is always worth holding on to. And every night, before sleep, Junwoo would pull me close and whisper, "Thank you for not giving up on me." "Never," I'd whisper back. "I'll never give up on us." Because some love stories don't begin with love at first sight. Some begin with dedication, with showing up every day, with believing in someone even when the world says it's hopeless. And those stories, I've learned, are the most beautiful ones of all.